It's a beautiful day to you, our lovely and smart real estate investors, whether you're home or you're also in diaspora. I hope you all are doing well today. I'm super delighted to welcome you to another insightful episode of Property Matters here on YouTube. My name is Adejari. I am your host here on Property Matters. In case you are seeing a video like this for the first time, Property Matters is a real estate YouTube talk show that explains all the nitty-gritty and all the necessary rudiment of real estate investment in Lagos, Nigeria. We've done an extensive playlist on Ibeju Lekki, short-let rentals, how to identify a manipulative real estate developer, rudiment of real estate investment. We've done an extensive overview of how the real estate market works, as well as land documentation, land verification, and how to spot a fraudulent real estate transaction. Do well to subscribe to this channel. Of course, a lot of people are viewing this channel, they're picking lessons, and one of the ways you can say thank you to us, one of the ways you can say, okay, fine, we support you, we want you guys to keep doing what you're doing, is to hit the subscription button. Help us, subscribe, encourage your friends to do so that we can reach as many Nigerians as possible. Remember, we preach the gospel of how not to get to do in any form of real estate transaction. I'll be back immediately after the short commercial. Stay tuned. Hello, my name is Adejari. I'm the MD CEO of King's Cost Property. And of course, in case you're seeing this video, I want to help you secure your next real estate investment here in Lagos, Nigeria. I've been in this industry for more than 8 years, and I've worked with 4 different real estate developers. So I understand the rudiment, I understand the procedures. I even understand how you can of course identify properties that are not safe for investment. I help people do land verification, and over time I've helped people not to make bad real estate investment. So in case you want to do your next real estate investment, I'm the go-to plug. So my information is below the caption of this video. In case you want to do property on the island, you want to do it in Ibeju Lekki, just let us know. And of course, in case you're seeing this video, I'll be sharing some useful real estate tips. Ensure you subscribe to my channel so that you can get weekly updates of what is going on the island, what is going on in Ibeju Lekki, and different aspects of Ekpe. So I look forward to seeing you, and of course, you'll be getting regular tips from me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. God bless you. See you at the top when you do a good real estate investment with King's Cost Property. Have a nice day. All right, you're welcome back. I'm super delighted to be on your screen today, doing what I love to do best, explaining the way the real estate market works in Lagos, Nigeria. In our previous episode, I was talking about the Lekki flooding. We identified some of the major causes of the Lekki flooding, and we even went as far as analyzing the Isheri knot, giving some of the hindrances and the reason why the flooding has, of course, persisted over the shortest period of time. We also looked at some of the important things you need to put into consideration, more importantly, when you are doing a real estate investment. We also identify some of the efforts that some real estate developer within that Isheri axis, of course, have done in order to curtail the endless, of course, the periodic flooding that aids that region. I also made some major clarifications that it is not all the part of Isheri knot that usually, experience flooding. And this is why when we come online, we do an analysis, we do an extensive analysis so that you can look at the reality as well as the risk factor. I went further to talk about the Lekki flooding, but I didn't go deeper into that because of the time. And it's just quite unfortunate that some of the real estate practitioners in Lagos, Nigeria saw the previous video. They had to call all the necessary. Of course, I belong to a real estate body here in Lagos, and of course, we have coordinators that that controls our activities. Several plea was made, and of course, I was advised not to talk extensively on the Lekki flooding as well as other parts of Lagos that I want to. And the reason for this basically is that many of them believe that for investors who do not understand the way the flooding market works, it may affect real estate investment. So because of that, I'm quite sorry, I won't be able to go beyond this. But if you want to know more information about this, where to pitch your investment, the kind of places that are not flood prone, of course, you are at liberty to hit the number below the caption of this video. We can guide you on places that are flood free, and of course we can let you know the places that are prone to flooding. The most important thing basically is for you not to lose any form of money or regret any real estate decision you make. So on today, I'm going to be talking about a very simple and of course exciting topic, which is actually the truth about freehold, whether it is in Ekpe, whether it is in Ibeju Lekki, whether it's in let's say all these Ikorodu axis. Because when you understand that one of the major terms that have dominated the real estate market basically is that when a land does not have a title that you can use to recognize it, majority of them, tag the title of the land. You get to see freehold, freehold, or some we will say register survey and freehold in view. But before I go further, I quickly want to explain what freehold is. And one of the things I want you to understand as a real estate investor is that when we say a land is a freehold, that means that that land does not fall or does not fall within any form of what future present government acquisition. It doesn't fall under any what future or present government acquisition. A freehold land is a land that is free, that can serve residential purpose. However, due to the changing factors and policies in the Lagos State Land Bureau, it is always advisable that when you are buying a land that does not fall under any form of government encumbrance, whether it is agric acquisition, whether it is forestry, whether it is tech hub. Of course, there's a place, there's a large portion of land in Epe that government have was zoned for tech. I'll be going further into that as we proceed. So if I should tell you that the land is freehold, that means the land is free. You can, get after you process your register survey, apply for a free for a C of O, and it will be granted. That obviously is the definition of a freehold. Now we have other types of acquisitions that are not freehold. Now a land may be an agric acquisition, but the land can pass through the concept of what ratification or regularization. What do I mean by that? If a land is agric acquisition, that means that I can apply for a consent to survey. A consent to survey is a process through which you can change an agric land into a residential land. Okay, so if a land is agric and it can pass consent to survey, then that land can change the status from agric acquisition to residential acquisition. So as an investor, you need to understand the status of the property that you're buying. I was shocked when some people were even using freehold in Ibeju Lekki, and we all know that there is no freehold in Ibeju Lekki, but that is not actually the bone of contention for today. So if a land is agric and it can pass consent to survey, okay, you can of course buy that land, and of course if you have the funds and the time to process the survey, of course to process the status of the land to a residential, of course you can go ahead. Now the reason why I'm making this clarification is because of the fact that the way the real estate market works basically is that people conjoin all kinds of title, and they use it to sell real estate to people who may not be familiar with this real estate procedures, and of course the processes of getting documents. You will understand very well that what have dominated the Ekpe real estate market basically is due to the fact that you hardly see land with title, because Ekpe is actually zoned for different purposes by the Lagos state government. Now, what do I mean by that? Oftentimes, I've come across a lot of practices that are very, very fraudulent, and I'm going to be explaining these to you, our lovely and smart real estate investors. The aim of this channel basically is for you to know, even if you are making a decision, you still deserve to know the truth. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I want to quickly make I'll be back immediately. My director asked me to stop for a brief commercial, and I'll be back immediately after this. Stay tuned. All right, you're welcome back. You're welcome back. So I was talking about some of the proceedings and some of the fraudulent things that is being done in this our industry. Now, when the real estate market started, you will understand that there are some credible real estate developers on charting the status of the land. Once they find out that the land falls under any form of acquisition, they don't go near it. Okay. That used to be the practice of real estate several years ago. Now, you'll understand very well that as the industry grew, of course, we witnessed the evolution of further real estate companies, a whole lot of actors coming into the real estate scene. And because of that, the growing um, competition for the scarce land was at uncontrollable rate. So, in many years ago, when real estate activities started, of course, when we started the Ibeju Lekki real estate activities, when we started the Ekpe real estate activities, people usually don't go near government lands, okay, because they know very well that going to government lands, buying or acquiring any land that falls under any form of acquisition is trouble for them. So what happens basically is that they go for the lands that are free. Do you understand? So they go for the lands that, of course, they are free, even if they don't have a title. As long as the land is free, you can process your title and you can have your papers as long as you are ready and, of course, have the funds to do so. So this used to be the rate at which real estate activities in Lagos, Nigeria was. But as we began to witness the evolution, and of course, we have more actors coming in, now we began to experience what we call scarcity of lands. And of course, many real estate companies perceive the idea that, okay, fine, since we have scarcity of landed properties in Ekpe and other places in Lagos, okay, the other option we have is a land that is agric, okay, that a consent to survey can pass. Do you understand? So they consider this idea that, okay, fine, if I can buy a land that I can do a consent to survey, it's still not a bad idea. Do you understand? So many of them bought the land, and of course, some, not all, processed the consent to survey, and they changed the status of the land from consent to survey to residential. And of course, most of these companies, if they cannot get a land that is free, some of them will decide to go for, okay, the ones that, okay, it is agreed a consent to survey can pass, let's acquire them, let's process, and let's sell. So this was around, let's just say, 2 years ago in Ekpe. Now recently we have more real estate companies in the scene. So right now it's not about a real estate company seeing a land, okay, that is acquisition and they leave it for government and government wahala, or they see a land that has agric acquisition that can pass a consent to survey. Let me quickly make this clarification that it is not all agric land that a consent to survey is possible. What I mean is that it is not all agric lands in Ekpe that you can pass a consent to survey and they will give you, not all. So please don't make this mistake that they said, of course, I can do a consent to survey as long as the land is agric. No, it's not all land. So you also need to be sure, okay? Confirm the status before you go ahead to pay. So as we began to have more real estate company coming in, consent to survey, because of the fact that we only have few lands that are under, that are freehold, that are truly freehold, we only have them in less quantity. They are not much, okay? So people started embracing the idea of consent to survey. Now, consent to survey gradually right now is also going into extinction. So what most real estate companies are doing is that they are now going for the acquisitions. They are now buying lands that are committed and they are selling to people like you. And the reason why I'm saying this basically is that if you have checked some of my video, you notice that at some point I made some of these points, I highlighted them, though I didn't go deeper into that because of the fact that I did want to, expose some things that needed not to be exposed. But today, the reason why I'm coming online to explain some of these things to you, our lovely, smart, beautiful real estate investors, was because all throughout last week, all throughout last month, I've been in a pair checking the status of land, and what I discover is very, very scary. And a whole lot of people are falling into this trap of buying committed lands. I've heard, I was in a meeting with a particular real estate client of mine, and in that meeting, I was asked to wait for him before the meeting started. He was actually talking with another realtor, and that realtor was advising the man, even if the land is forestry, buy. Even the land is agri, buy. we will help you. Now, the phrases you get to hear is that we will. That means they will help you. In most cases, the reverse has always been the case because many of them don't have the funds to help. Many of them don't have the ability to help. And this is why you need to understand the way this industry works. Now, because of the fact that most of these guys want you to buy from them, they make promises that they cannot fulfill. So this is why you need to understand that if you are buying, you need to understand the risk attached to it. A lot of people have told you that Epe land is free. Epe land is not committed. Epe is 100% residential. I am coming here to debunk that fact that is not all Epe is free and not all Epe is residential. When you look at the way the Lagos State government designed the Epe master plan, even before the master plan was designed, as at 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Lagos State government designed Epe for agricultural purposes, and this was due to the fact that Epe actually, as at that time, was not fully residential. And when you notice that when Lagos State government wanted to do the food and logistic hub, they didn't go to Ibeju Lekki, they went to Epe. When they wanted to do the film cinema, they went to Epe. When they wanted to do international airport, they didn't go to Epe, they went to Ayetoro. This is to make you to understand that government, in contrast to what people have told you, that Epe is free, Epe is 100% residential. I'm coming here to debunk that information that Epe is not 100% residential. Government designed larger part of Epe for agric and other future projects that they will be doing. So we need to make you people understand that contrary to what you have been told, government have a plan for Epe, and this is why you need to understand the status. Now, this is my recommendation because I really don't want us to take time on this topic. You will learn a lot from this. Now, should I buy a land that is agric, that a consent to survey can pass? Can I buy a land that is forestry and they can also help me change the status? Or should I go for a land that is residential? Realistically, as at few weeks ago, I can categorically tell you, our audience and our lovely subscribers, that residential lands right now in Epe are at the moment gradually going into extinction. We don't have more of them, and that is why the available ones are very, very expensive. I was talking with a dear real estate investor yesterday, and she was like, wow, they're asking me to buy a residential land for 5 million. Yes, because residential land right now in Epe is gold. With a residential land, which is actually the original freehold, with a residential land, you have your register survey done, just apply for a C of chicken. You don't even need to spend money on ratification or you're doing any form of regularization. No, with your land that is residential, that is freehold, you need to do what? You don't need to do any other thing, just process your C of and you're done. Can I buy agric? This is my advice. Now, if you're buying a land that is agric acquisition, please, first of all, let your surveyor confirm if a consent to survey can pass on that land before you pay. I know very well that residential lands are majorly gradually going to extinctions and the available ones are agric. Before you buy, allow your surveyor to check if they apply for consent to survey, it will be granted. That's number one. The second thing you should also need to do basically is that you need to confirm if the land you are buying is not zoned. Zoned land are lands that government have planned a project coming there. I was to check a property on last week Thursday at Epe, and I was speaking with, of course, the developer, and the man told me this. And when I checked, when I was at Alausa the following day, our source told us that there's nothing this man wants to do. They won't give him. Now, let me just tell you people the truth. Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Apologies to the non-Christians viewing this video. You see, in this time and age where real estate is not regulated, in this time and age where real estate developer does not care about whether the land is free or not. What they care about is to have a product to sell. The way real estate companies compete with land between themselves right now is alarming, and that is why you need to understand that all the lands they are selling to you in effect cannot be a land that is free. It is not possible. Many of them will tell you we will sell under the disguise that we will perfect title. Now the thing is, if you want to buy a land that is not residential, that is not freehold, and the developer tells you that they are going to process the title, let them put it on their contract of sale, number one. But if you are buying an agric land, of course, that a consent to survey can pass, ask yourself a question. If you don't have the funds and the time, doing land title in Alausa takes funds and it takes time. So if you are in diaspora and you know you will not be available to run this, or you don't have reliable hands to do this, my advice is that if a residential land that you are confirmed is selling for 5 million and the one in agric is selling for maybe, let's just say 2 million, 2.5, 2.8, 2.9, you know the way they used to sell. And when a land is ridiculously cheap, just know that there's a comma, there's a K leg on that property, and the one they're selling is within that range, and you don't have the time and you may not have the funds to do it, my advice is leave it for them. Buy the one that is residential. What many of people don't understand is that the cheaper the land, the risk that are attached, the higher the risk attached to them. So you need to confirm. Now for forestry and military zone, I really don't have much to say. You can speak with your surveyor, let them advise you. See, some of the real estate decisions I made and that I made for people are based on the advice of our surveyor and our legal team. See, a lot of real estate companies will enter trouble, especially those selling acquisition. You need to understand the reason why they are selling. Are they selling to make money, or they are selling to render service? These are two different things that most real estate investors do not understand. So count the cost. I, for instance, I just don't buy anyhow, despite the fact that I encourage people to buy properties. I don't encourage people to buy anyhow. A man was talking to me. I said, sir, you will give me 4 days to check. We will check, our surveyor analyzer will check, we'll do an analysis, we'll check if there's a project coming there, we'll check if there's a drainage. A lot of people are selling canal as land. A lot of people are selling lands that falls under. In fact, there's one at some part of Ilara that there's a road that divides a land into two. We checked it, and of course at Alausa we found out that there's a road, a 2-dimensional road that cuts the estate, and they're still selling it. When you go there today, you see signboard. At Ibeju, we were able to do some checks. We found out that there's a Dangote pipeline, and the pipeline divides the estate into two, and they're still selling. So the question is, are they really representing your interest, or they're representing their pockets? So this is actually where I'm going to draw the curtain. So in summary, if you know you don't have the time and the funds to process a land that is agric or that has any form of acquisition, leave it for them. Buy residential. Okay. And I also want to quickly say, I cannot check out for every. See, I have a lot of things I'm doing. Yesterday I was at Mowe. Next week I'm going to be at Ikorodu. So we have a lot to do. So sometimes you need to be confirmed. You need to check what you're selling or what you're buying so that you won't run into trouble. They've told you that you just do regularization. If they take the amount they charge to regularization, you will leave the land for them. So the regularization is not as cheap or as easy as they've painted it to be. So you need to count the cost. So this is where I'm going to draw the curtain of today's episode on property matters. I hope you found value. Okay, so do well to subscribe. Encourage your friends to do so. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.